Okay, so let us continue. And the next thing we're going to do is start the halftones. And I've picked up a scrap glass and taken a green stone and done a little test on the glass. Now I'm going over the areas of the glass that are not engraved at all. So in other words, they look very dark. And I'm now going to bring it all together because we certainly don't want it to look like there's holes in it. Now you saw me scrape it onto a bit of stone, and that is because I felt that there were some little sharp bits in it, in the stone, and so that smooths it out a little bit and softens the tone. Sometimes with these little green stones or any other stones, the pink stones, the brown stones, if you run it against another stone, you can just get rid of a little bit of whatever's sticking out. You know what I mean. And you can see when you're engraving it's not as soft as it should be. And so now it's a lovely soft tone. It's not as soft as, for example, a white Arkansas. I didn't want it to go quite that dark yet. And this is a really nice half tone. This is a very worn down green stone. Just running over the top. I'm not pressing hard at all. I don't want to mess up the diamond work that I've done. And I'm just running it over, and it automatically is filling in any upper surface which is not engraved. It joins it all together. So there's not a hole in this chap. It becomes a solid creature. And despite the fact that there's already halftones, obviously I'm not going to be leaving it at that. You want to have a variety of tones. And of course I will be polishing those with various rubbers soon enough. Also, this takes off any harsh edges that maybe the diamond has left. If there are any tiny little roughy, chippy bits, which they're not really in this case, because I've used really nice new diamonds, and the glass is lovely and soft, even though it's not lead crystal. Right, out with the white Arkansas, and you can see I am creating a little eyeball and an eye area. So the eyeball itself, I have stopped and pressed a little bit harder, or hovered over it, or drilled it a little bit longer. And then where the darker areas around the eye are, I've gone very lightly, so I'm not engraving deep. Now I've got this little brown rubber which will instantly polish that back and give our dragon some life. It was strange, as I mentioned in the previous video, I normally engrave the eyes first, and for some reason I didn't engrave this dragon's eye first. I just ploughed into the rest of it and had a lot of fun with that, and then realized, how very unusual for me, because I usually like to put the character into the picture first. Maybe I didn't want a scary dragon staring at me while I'm engraving. Right, so we're putting some darker areas inside the mouth. He's looking a little bit gummy at the moment. He's got no teeth. I'm smiling because he does look very gummy. Anyway. Right, I've got the soft grey rubber at the moment, and I am just softening around the pearl. You'll notice I'm not polishing it out because it's not a crystal. As much as I would love to make that a crystal sphere in his claw, it is actually a pearl, and so it needs to remain opaque. The beauty of a softer rubber is the fact that it won't just cling to and polish the upper surfaces. It will slightly go into the indentations that you've created with the diamonds, and so it kind of has a blendy sort of effect, which I don't always want, but obviously when you do want it, it's very useful. And of course it's a softer polishing effect. It's not going to create a very, very clear glass one. There's still a nice soft hue, a nice soft tone. You can see some of those little blobby bits have grabbed hold of the softer grey rubber and they've just become an instant little half tone. I think I might sort of highlight those later on. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. Running over the claws, which also need a bit of a nail job. Now the rubber disc is quite useful because that really will be more likely to just polish out what is the upper surface that hasn't got any depth to it, providing you are going along the top. Say for example, if you've got a furrow, you don't want to, well, you might want to polish inside the furrow, but if you turn the disc to right angles to the furrow, if you like, then that is not going to go into it, and you're just going to polish the very, very edges of it, which is really quite useful. And this, if it was a harder rubber, I'm not sure if I used a harder rubber later, but really that creates very, very black polished areas. This I can see quite clearly. They are pretty dark, what this has gone over. You don't want to make all the shading very, very dark. So I'm just touching it here and there where I want it to be slightly darker. Now this is a very, very tiny diamond burr. Wish I'd get on with it. Right, what are we about to do? We're doing a manicure. Getting some nails onto this dragon. Obviously the sharp point, and then coming back up to a slightly wider area by the finger. Lots of water. Although it looks like my drip system has stopped dripping for the moment. these little claws are really the last thing you do on something like this. For example, going over the pearl. You don't want to do anything else to that pearl, really. Once you've got the claws in, that's it. The pearl in the background needs to have been completed. This slightly triangular shape, but trying to make the points pretty sharp and neat, making sure that you don't kind of come to the end with your two strokes and cross over at the end, if you know what I mean. So if you do one long stroke and then the other one slightly smaller, so there's no chance of a messed up point, because once you mess that up, then you just got to make his talons longer, and before you know it, you've got very, very long nails. Talons, you know what I mean. Claws. And so on the back of the knees, if you like, there are these little flames that match, say, the back of the neck. So I'm just adding a few little effects with this tiny bird, just tiny little highlights on the flames. On the bearded area. It looks like we could be doing some dental work at last. In a moment. Pressing nice and deep, and nice and hard, to make sure that I go through neatly what I've already put in the mouth, because it's a little bit deep what I have already done there, so I don't want the teeth to be sort of wiggly. I want them to be strong and straight. Right, trying to sort my water out, obviously. Okay. Big fangs in the front. So Mr. Dragon can eat now. Though he might still have a little bit of trouble eating, and that being because he hasn't got a tongue yet. Defining the eyelids, especially if you've done a deep eyeball, you don't want the eye to look like it's popping out. So if you give him some nice eyelids, then the eye looks far more complete. This video is mostly done at 130% of natural speed. Here in my hands I have, or in my fingers, I've got a little brush burr, and all I did was rub it over some of the diamond work where it had gone quite deep, and sometimes you get little bits of dry diamond in there and it sort of looks a little bit white and you just want to get rid of it. So I just brush it, scrub it a little bit with the brush. I'm going in again with the brown. Oh, yes, I've used the little diamond and given him an iris and a pupil, basically with a simple U shape. Very delicately done. And just highlighting a bit with a rat's tail here. Yeah, so it completed the eyeball with that little U shape, and then touched it up with the rubber again, just to give it a more realistic look. Usually if you do that, if you've got a big enough eye for it to really work, do the rubber area just under the top eyelid once you've done your iris and defining where the pupil is, and then just shading the top area, because you've got a little bit of shadows coming down from the top eyelid. Again, just a few little highlights here and there, and also just adding little points to the flames, adding a few more flames. Well, the flame-like hair. I can see a couple of little areas that need a touch-up, like on the shape of the body there. And if it's not in this video, then I will have done it afterwards. Anything you spot that's not quite smooth, for example, just a little touch-up will fix it. Yeah, these horn items I am just making a little bit deeper in the center, so they are quite cylindrical. So the little brown rubber, I wanted to just pick up on the edges of those nails so that they appear more on top of the body, and so that they do stand out a bit more, because I think they were kind of blending into the whiteness of the body. And so just by touching the bottoms and the tops, well, the edges of the nail without going into the nail or claw, then it produces that dark shadow. Yeah, you can see I'm trying to touch up a little bit, giving a little bit more texture. This dragon, while it kind of looks complete, I will be creating another little video where I do slightly adapt this fellow. I make some simple changes to his bodywork. Now you can see I'm just neatening that edge that I saw, and in fact that's not really efficient of me. I should have turned it sideways so that I could get rid of that lump I can see on the top. I don't like to see that. I want it smooth. Perhaps I haven't really spotted that. Quite often I see lots of things on my recording that I don't see when I am sitting slightly twisted so that when I'm sitting there and I've got the decanter at an angle for the camera to see, but I am not in front of it. I am sideways, trying to see sideways, so that the camera sees it without my head getting in the way. Now you can see, using this soft rubber in my hand, I am just rubbing over, just adding a very, very gentle tone here and there. Now just defining the leg area, going a little bit deeper in there so it stands out more. Anytime you see little things that are not quite right, it's good to scan over the whole thing and just keep picking up. I noticed that back leg didn't look like it was at the back. That's why I highlighted a little bit more on the tummy area and then shaded the leg a little bit, adding a bit more shading to the eye and the mouth. And it was at this point I suddenly thought, poor fellow will have trouble eating and speaking, growling, whatever they do, spitting flames. Actually, I'm not sure if I suppose they do. The Chinese dragon, whether they spit flames as well. I know the European dragons do. Well, he hasn't got a tongue, so that's coming. Oh, yes. So I had just quickly shaded that area behind that kneecap and added a little flame-shaped hair sticking out the back as it does on the other limbs. And by shading in the back of it, the background of it before adding that means it's going to stand out much more. So in goes a very simple tongue. There was not a tongue on the picture, which I thought was odd. I think it didn't have a tongue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it didn't have a tongue. And so I decided to add a tongue. Little bit of stonework. This is a very small green stone. And a signature and date. And there you have it. Although, as I say, I will be doing an extra little video. There are a few things I needed to modify, and I will be creating a short video showing that process soon. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Till next time. Bye for now.